Hello, welcome to My Life in Spain. My name's Mark, and I don't know if you watched the video about my prediction yesterday that Vladimir Putin would not meet Zelensky in Istanbul for talks or not. But it came true. My prediction was true. Instead, Putin sent a very, very low-level delegation to meet with Ukraine's delegation, and unlike Russia, Zelensky has sent his defense minister, and he said he did that in respect for President Erdogan, where he's right now in Ankara having talks with him, or had earlier today. Now, I'm not surprised that Putin didn't show up. I mean, I didn't expect him to. I really didn't. If you look at all these conflicts with autocrats throughout the years, they don't get involved. I mean, Hitler never got involved in talking to the Allies to surrender. Saddam Hussein never was there for any peace talks. Even Gaddafi didn't talk to anybody about how things could work out. And Putin's the same thing. If the war ended in Russia, if the war ended in Ukraine, how long do you think it would be before the Russian people decided that it was time to get rid of Putin? I don't think long. I mean, this corruption is rife in Russia, and if you want to make money, you've got to be friends with Putin. And the regular people are too afraid to say anything against the regime because they're in fear of being jailed, or even worse, being thrown out of a balcony, of a window from a high-rise building. So, I mean, like I say, if you want to make money in Russia, you have to be corrupt, or, bow down to Putin and enrich him in some way. I'm sure he takes a skim off the top of all these companies that are there and allowed to operate because of him. And if you say something against him, I mean, I've seen regular people interviewed in the streets, and they're afraid to say. They'll say, I'm not political. I don't know anything about anything. I'm just trying to live my life. And the reason they do that is because they're afraid to say something. They're afraid to criticize Putin because they don't want to go to jail. Or worse still, get thrown out of a window from a high-rise building. People have to remember, Putin's a killer. He's not a nice man. He's not even a statesman. He's a killer. And when I hear people like Donald Trump, who has an ego, probably the biggest ego of anybody I've ever met, when they asked him, were you surprised that were you surprised that Putin didn't go to Istanbul to talk with Zelensky face to face? Trump said, no, I'm not surprised. He knew I wasn't going. Why would he go if I wasn't going to go? But a day earlier or so, Trump said, "Hey, I'll go to Istanbul too." It's really stupid. I don't get it. I don't get it. These talks in Istanbul are going nowhere. That's my latest prediction. They're going nowhere. It's a low-level delegation. They've been told to take the line they did in 1922 when they had talks. At the time, in 1922, Ukraine was on the verge of capitulating. These talks in Istanbul are going nowhere. The Russian delegation, as Zelensky said, it's a prop. They're props. They've been sent to Turkey to continue where they left off from the negotiations they had in 2022, in which Ukraine was on the verge of capitulating to Russia. What Russia wants, and this is no joke, they don't want a Ukraine to exist. They don't want Ukraine to be a free country. They want to make it a part of Russia. In 2022, Ukraine was days away from losing everything. Yet they valiantly fought back and pushed the Russians back. And the reason they did that because the Russians were so useless at their planning. I mean, they attacked at a time of year when the ground was muddy. They didn't have the supplies. The Ukrainians very smartly and tactically took out fuel trunks or bogged their convoys down on the road so they couldn't move. And the tide has turned now. Ukraine is it can defend itself, thanks in part to Europe and America. Ukraine can defend itself, and we're at the point where nobody's going to win this war. There's nobody going to win the war, and with these so-called Russian diplomats going to Istanbul now to talk about, oh well, you have to give up land, you have to not have an army, you can never join NATO. The Ukrainian people are going to say no. We don't want to do that. We want to have our own free, sovereign country. So the meeting, my prediction is the meeting will end. The Russian diplomats will go back, and then what's going to happen? I mean, Marco Rubio's there. He's not a stupid man. Yet, unfortunately, he seems to be kissing Trump's ass. The Russians have something on Trump, and whether it was the fact they bailed him out when he needed money, when the European banks and American banks wouldn't lend him any more money, maybe that's it. I don't know. But he seems certainly more aligned to Putin than he does to Zelensky. I'm not sure how this is going to work out. The only way I see it working out, Europe's got the right stance. We're with Ukraine. If America pulls out, we'll back Ukraine. And even if America doesn't pull out, we'll back Ukraine together with America. Now, he's being played for a fool. I mean, Putin's played him like a cheap fiddle. Sending this low delegation to Istanbul is just playing for time. Putin doesn't want to end the war. He knows if the war ends, he's in trouble. So, I mean, have a look at Ceausescu. What happened to him? The same thing will happen to Putin. And he probably knows that. Where's he going to flee? Where does he want to go to for safety? Does he want to go to North Korea? I don't think so. Anyway, my prediction is nothing will come of this. And probably, if the Russians have something on Trump, he's going to start making apologies for, why. He's going to blame Zelensky for not making any progress. That's my prediction. He's going to blame Zelensky. He's not going to say anything bad about Putin. Now, Zelensky said, I'll be in Istanbul. Putin, come and meet me. President Trump, come and negotiate with us. And neither of the other two came. So there we are. I mean, right now Zelensky's an anchor with Erdogan. Erdogan could be one of the keys here, I think. If Erdogan decides that Turkey will also back Ukraine, it's a game changer. We'll see what will happen. But right now, I'm not optimistic for any kind of ceasefire or the war ending, because that's not what Putin wants. He wants a total capitulation of Ukraine, and that's the end of the story. Anyway, thanks for listening, and I'll keep doing these little political things every now and again, because it really does kind of upset me, that the way all this stuff works. Oh, and before I go, a quick mention of Trump. Why do you think he's in Saudi Arabia, Qatar? Qatar, by the way, a country that supports Hamas and has their leaders there, and the UAE. And I'll tell you why. It's not for politics. It's not for contracts. It's because Trump and his family have big business interests in these countries. Do your research. Have a look. Look at the golf courses and hotels that they're building in these Arab states. And then you'll say, oh, okay, I get it now. Exactly. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'll catch you next video. Bye for now.